see them bounce back, and it was a little bit, hesitant. But before we start talking about I guess we'll go hockey, basketball, and then finish up with a recap of the game fours that we have coming up tonight. It'll be a semi quick one. If you're catching us live, we appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like on the video, a comment down below. How have you felt so far about the Avalanche and Nuggets playoff runs? Because obviously we're all in this thing together, and we're all hoping for the same end result at the end of the day. At least I think so. But before we get into that, at FEOTV Pod, all social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you're probably watching us live on right now, and be sure to follow at variety_sports_. I'll be on the NHL post show tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'll be on that live show over on Variety Sports Network. And this recap segment of the NHL playoffs and kind of our experience at Ball Arena will be brought to us by In the Clutch Sports, intheclutchsports.com. Make sure you use promo code Variety Sports. When you use that code, you get about 15% off anything in the art gallery. Excuse me, VSN15. VSN15 is that promo code for Row One brand. I'm all over the place, man. If we're not used to recording on Sunday, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break. But no, let's talk about it. So game two, expectations going into game three, game 2 and 3. So we'll start with 2. Game 2, what were your expectations? I know there was a little bit of nervous energy when we were in the truck on the way down to the arena. Wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be caught in any traffic. We were, unfortunately, because that's just how Colorado works these days. But going into game 2, what were the thoughts and feelings that you had?
I don't know. Like I said, look, the first part of game two was not ideal at all. Obviously, they had those 2 quick goals in the first, and I feel like, holy shit, what is this team? Like that's the feeling it went into. We both you and I thought that they'd come out firing, right? Like this team has not lost 2 straight playoff games since that fucking nine. What was it, 9 in a row playoff losses or whatever it was 3 years
Yeah,
ago, 2
eight.
years ago.
We got swept out in legit 2 weeks.
Yeah, so 8 in a row losses. So it's been that long since this franchise has lost 2 in a row. And they responded quickly, right? Like I don't know what it took. Maybe it was a kick in the ass, being like, "Oh shit, you're about to fucking do this." Like it was a reality check, being like, yeah, this is possible. This is a very real possibility, and the stars came out to play, right? The stars came out to play, and that's what the difference between us and the Seattle Kraken is right now. Kraken are a very deep team, like we were saying in the car on the way. 1 through 4, like all 4 of their lines could be possibly one line. First line could be possibly the 4th line. There isn't stars. There's a couple decent, really good players, but they're all about even as it gets, and that's their depth that helps them so much. But they have no one, and I mean no one that matches the skill level even close to Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar. And what you saw from MacKinnon specifically with Mikko in that first line was they just continued the pressure. They continued the pressure in that game 2 and just waited for the ice to break. I getting that Erod tip, it was not a pretty goal. It was a lucky goal, to be honest with you. It's a weird bounce off a stick for a puck that's going wide. But all you need to do is have Grubauer see one go by him. Because once you see one go by Grubauer, the floodgates open. That's exactly what happened in game 3 as well. Once you get swimming in his head, once he sees one in the back of the net, things start getting haywire. If he has a 0 goose egg on the board, look, he has all the confidence in the world, but once he sees that one going, he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna fucking lose this lead. Oh shoot, I'm gonna falter here and go and saves that should not be dealt because these defensemen in front of me are not as good as what I had in Colorado. All you had to do was open it up, and once you open it up, things just things just worked in as favor much more.
Yeah, the interesting thing, obviously, a lot is played into whoever scores first in a Stanley Cup playoff game. We had the luxury of the Avalanche doing that quite a bit during their run last
We have
season.
not done that yet.
No, we have not, and Seattle continues. It goes back to that 15%. You got 15 seconds of 100% effort in my mind. 15% or 15 seconds, and you got to just absorb that really tough push from the other side. Know that you're going to be strong enough to come back on the other end, and I think that's what we're seeing out of this Colorado Avalanche team, because in that game too, the big guys, they did score finally, but they're getting help out from. It wasn't easy by any means. This is not waves and waves of attack. You were tight in the first period. There's a lot of pressure, but once that goal goes in. That actually, I'm going to go back because you mentioned Erod. I think Erod deserves a lot of credit for that body check that he threw as well. I think that was finally the catalyst of the Colorado Avalanche being like, oh, we're in the playoffs. We're here. This is the time. Let's go after somebody. Let's get after it. Let's get in somebody's face because we have to make sure that we have to play this way. You can't play finesse and try and score 18 goals on your way to a Stanley Cup championship this time. You're going to need to be physical. You're going to need to have a net front presence. You're going to need to throw the body in the open ice. And that's what Erod brought to the table. And then everything starts to open up offensively in the second period.
No, Erod is a guy that obviously in the offseason we're like, oh, is this guy going to be the 2C or is this guy going to be the Burakovsky replacement or the Nas replacement or whatever? And look, he didn't produce the same numbers those two guys did, but he's been a perfect veteran leadership in this group of a lot of young guys, right? like, look, there's leadership in this group, but you can't lie to yourself. Fucking seeing Ben Myers out there on the third line and Matt Nieto on the second line on game 3, you're like, oh shit, I don't know if these guys are ready for it. And Erod was able to calm them down because he's had that experience along with the rest of our top guys, and he's been a perfect addition. Absolutely perfect. And like I said, to get that started in game 2 and break the ice, it was a huge momentum swing, not only just for the game but for the series. It could have been that goal could have very well been a series saver because you go down 2-0, possibly going to Seattle game 3. That could have spilled bad for you.
It was at the point where, yes, 2-0, you're fine. Especially, it's the little cliche that a 2-0 lead is for a road team is the most dangerous lead in hockey. It's you just have to make sure that you don't go down 3-0. I think this team is good enough if their guys are scoring the way that we know they can to come back from 3-0, but the playoffs, it's difficult. I mean, luckily we got those goals as quickly as we did, ended up turning things around, and the 3-2 victory obviously comes after, icing things in the third period. It's such a grittier game, and it's not always going to be pretty. And I'm pulling up the stats now because Georgiev that night 9-3-1, so he's better in the save percentage wise, but he's still, not close to what Darcy was giving us, especially even before the eye injury. But you don't have to do that. You just have to have like 10-minute stretches where nobody can score on you. You have Erik Johnson fall down in front of the net and block a shot with his head, trying to save off a 3-on-1 shot attempt. It's those little things, the little extra efforts that we're starting to see from this Colorado Avalanche team from everyone up and down the lineup. Like, they all realize Landeskog's not coming back to save us. We're not going to have a moment like that.
I would counter argue and say that Georgie, after those first 4 periods of the series, he was horrendous. But after that, he's been absolutely stellar, in my opinion. Like what he showed in the ending after going down 2-0 and standing tall. 2 goals in the first period. Seattle was buzzing, right? And then you don't let in another goal until obviously game 3. I look, obviously you want to score first. You absolutely do. But I'd counter argue and say that Georgie has been the perfect goalie right now. I think the defense has made mistakes.
All I'm saying is that he's not producing at like a 40-minute per game clip. It's like, 25 minutes where he's stellar. 25 minutes of Shesterkin, and that's all you need.
And the reason why Darcy did that last year is because the defense was allowing 25 or less shots per game. And frankly, that's never happens, okay? Like I said, look what happened to Darcy in fucking Washington. Absolute ass this year. Grubauer, he's having a little playoff run right now because he's playing his former team, playing simple. But I like I said, I think Georgiev is done perfectly and been put in the right position to get these guys going, in my opinion. And to go off what I was saying earlier, that 2-0 lead, I was more speaking of the series lead because, like I said, you go down 2-0, you don't get that goal breaker. You go down 2-0 going into Seattle for game 3, then you're really in trouble. And without Erod's tip there, that could have really, really spelled bad news. Like I said, you could, because look, you go down 2-0 in the series, not just in a game, but in a series, it's death struck. You lose 2 at home in a row, that's even worse. And to get that, and then obviously Val with the incredible pass by Kale to free him open and get a wide open backhand shot that he popped top right. Look, it was perfect momentum swing. And then look, after that second goal went in from Val, it seemed like Seattle had no answer for us offensively. It just was a ticking time bomb. Be like, all right, When's one dropping? That's what it seemed like after on that way to that third goal. When is the next one dropping? Taser obviously had a hell of a shot that he got off a rebound, which Grubauer was letting up a lot of rebounded shots. So I was expecting that to come in. It was something that he wasn't doing the first part of the game, but come the third period, a lot of rebounds, and Tays had a perfect rebound back in the net, and the pressure just seemed like too much for Seattle to handle.
There is now more pressure on Seattle. It was cute, and you got your first playoff goal, you got your first playoff win, but now, especially after you just had your first playoff game in your home barn, which we'll transition to, Val's also a good transition point. Obviously, he did not suit for game 3 Saturday night. He did not play, taking care of some issues off the ice. So don't really have any detail. Nobody has any detail about it now. Just know that he's dealing with something, and hopefully he'll be able to handle that. And whatever goes on will be a positive outcome at the end of the day, because that's all we can hope for. That's all we can think about at the moment, especially with not really knowing and not being around anyone related to it. So.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Hopefully everything works out and works out for him off the ice. Obviously, his play on the ice is much missed, and luckily the Avs were able to hold on for Game 3 without him.
Yeah, game 3 was kind of an up and down. Obviously, Seattle, except for that second period on Saturday, second period yesterday, I forget we can say that because we're recording live. Since that second period, the Kraken only score within like the first or the very end of the period. There's not really sustained pressure all the way through. The first 10 minutes of the game, they're probably going to get a goal because they're hyped out of their minds. They just find openings, and maybe the Avalanche aren't ready to go right away. They still end up getting the first goal. They carry that lead until Colorado, the shorthanded attempt. Comfort, as much as he didn't take over that role from Nazem Kadri, he still has the knack for scoring big goals in the right moments, and that was the perfect moment for that, because if you go down 2-0 at this point, then you're going to you're just wasting energy. We all know we would like this series to end as quickly as possible so that the Colorado Avalanche have a little bit more rest before they have to play a team that's physical like Dallas or Minnesota. If they go up 2-0 on that power play, then you're just like, oh shit, we're gonna have to fully exert ourselves again. There's not gonna be any break, and we're just gonna have to fight our way back. Didn't happen. They were able to turn things around. The shorthanded goals was a catalyst. Who got the second goal? I forget. I watched the entire thing last night, but I can't even remember.
I think that might have. Oh yeah, it was Mac on the breakaway. Yeah, that breakaway where he basically created the whole thing by himself. Like JT coming up big. Look, he's been a guy that has scored shorthand goals in the playoffs before too, so it's nothing new for him. But Mac's speed is I mean, we'll talk about his power, but let's just talk about his speed for this in this specific play, because I mean, look, there was no one on the ice that could even catch up with him. Once he had the whereabouts to tip the puck around the defender, over the defender's stick to himself, and just have one-on-one with him and his former teammate. Like you knew it was going back in the net, plain and simple. Like there's a couple guys in the league that it's one-on-one with the goalie. That amount of speed, that amount of power, there's a good chance it goes in. And I would say McKinnon, I would say McDavid, I'd maybe say Matthews. And the list is very short, plain and simple. The 9 times out of 10 that puck will go in the back of the net, and McKinnon just like I say, he just put on the burners and could not be stopped.
He was on a different level last night. He finished the game with 2 goals. Mikko Rantanen finished the game with 2 goals. Cale Makar gets his first goal and an assist on the night. That slap shot, that was like the big thing against him when he was coming out of college, is that he didn't have a very good slap shot. That was not the case. He beat Grubauer high side. We started to see not the regression, but just like, this is the Philip Grubauer that left us in the expansion draft. We let walk and go to Seattle and sign for all that money. Because yes, you can get the
reason why he had 88% save percentage and was allowing 2.5 goals during the regular season. That's the Grubauer that happened to the regular season that lost his job to 38-year-old Martin Jones. Let's not forget ourselves, okay?
And they really, other than a couple, like the guy that you want to look at and say didn't play very well in this one, Alex Newhook, he's the one that gave up. He lost Matty Beniers for the Kraken's second goal and kind of started that little comeback, actually the third goal, because that was after Alexiak's backhand, and then Matty Beniers came in and scored 19 seconds later. They have now the fastest time between transitions, I swear I had flashbacks to like when we first started this show and watching them play Dallas in the bubble, be like, okay, we're up 2. Shit, I didn't want us to give up a goal now, but at least, we'll come back. We have time. What the hell? They already scored another one. It's tied. Why do we have to be tied in everything that we do?
The team took 15 seconds off. What was a heck of a second period? You take that 15 seconds off in the playoffs, that'll happen. That'll happen, plain and simple. And like you said, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. You can't take plays off. You can't take seconds off, because when you take that seconds off, that's what happens. And look, the firepower for Seattle, like I said, once they got that second goal, it was that momentum of the building just rocking, getting them to the third. Absolutely. And luckily you were able to come back in the third period and get things turned around just fine. But like I said, you can't take seconds off. You can't take people off. You can't take shifts off thinking that, we can skate through this. No. After that third goal in, there was some worry. There absolutely was some worry from us, and luckily the Avs stayed composed, stayed cool, and said, "Yep, we took 15 seconds off. This team is still not better than us," and they showed out in the third.
They did end up coming back, and obviously the score ends 6-4. Not quite as dominant, just the last play out, the power play goal. That's, I guess, something that we can get into. McKinnon kind of loses it, gets the cross-checking penalty at the end. I think it was honestly, it was more of a good thing, because you don't have the guy, like at this point of the playoffs, Landy would have already fought somebody. You're not going to put McDermott out there so that he can just go and fight. You have to have somebody out there that's not going to let a guy like whatever his name is, Sprong, run around and try and punk your guys and stick your guys in places that they shouldn't be sticked in. He was trying to run around a little bit. McKinnon followed him. He could have avoided the check entirely, decided, no, I'm going to wait and lower my shoulder back into him, knock him on his ass, make him look silly in front of all his friends and family that he brought to the game, and then follow up with a little bit of a cross check. You don't want to see him take the penalty there, but hockey is a very psychological sport, and you needed somebody to stand back up and go, if this happens again, you will be speaking with me directly. We will be taking this outside, and I'm going to ask Connor Garland what it's like. Ask Matt Dumba what it's like to try and fight Nathan McKinnon. He's a pretty boy. He scores a lot of goals. That's not a guy that I'd want to fight if I were somebody in the NHL.
With his power and skill, I mean, look, that last goal he had, I have never seen a player like that just say, fuck you, I'm doing me. In the game of hockey, you see it in basketball a lot, where a guy just says, get out of the way, this is my ball, and I'm taking it to the hoop no matter who's in front of me. McKinnon said, no, this is my puck, get out of my way, and I'm going to skate around your whole team. I'm going to make this guy's ankles break. Then I'm going to get the rebound off the puck. I'm going to bulldoze through a guy that's trying to hip check me back, and then snipe on top right. That's one of the most impressive plays. I would even say it's more impressive than Cale's twist around play, because the way he first of all drops the defender and sends him back to the blue line or up to the blue line because he loses him so bad in his skates, and then he body checks the guy on his way to keeping the puck and putting it in the back of the net. That's the epitome of Nathan McKinnon. Like we said on Thursday's show, if it wasn't for number 97, this guy would be the fucking player. This would be the guy that everyone would be talking about. And I like to make basketball I like to make all these basketball comparisons because I think it makes sense. Nathan McKinnon is the Kevin Durant of hockey. He's not a snake by any means, but he's this guy that just goes unsung because, there's this guy named LeBron James in the league. There's this guy named Connor McDavid in the league. So everyone's like, oh shit, that's the greatest player in the world right now. It's very hard to test against him. And when you look at him, he's like, oh, that guy's that guy. Like he's that guy. No, it doesn't matter what position of the game he is. Doesn't matter where in the world. If he wants to take over, you're gonna have to put 3 guys on him because 2 isn't enough.
Yeah, when you're the alpha of other alphas, you stand out, and he's the alpha among a team that also has Mikko Rantanen, who, by the way, also with 2 goals in the game. As long as the Avalanche can continue to be this team where, you got to decide whether you're going to shut down McKinnon or Mikko, because you're not shutting them both down. I think Jared Bednar's been a genius so far with the line combinations, moving Leckie and Rodriguez up with Mac and leaving Mikko down with guys like JT Compher and Matt Nieto. I know it's not the sexiest thing, and he's having a harder time scoring, but he's still that scoring threat. You got to manufacture this depth scoring. Mikko Rantanen is not a depth player, but when he's playing on that technically second/third line, and you have Lecky, Erod, and McKinnon go out there, soften things up, and Mikko comes back in to spell one of these guys, that's a better situation than what we could have hoped. So you're not getting that Nazem Kadri-esque guy, but basically now Mikko Rantanen is the Nazem Kadri replacement because he's basically centering your second line.
And Bednar does such an incredible job because he knows the moments, right? Because there's moments where Mikko's back out there with McKinnon, and there's moments where you can run Mikko with those second guys. They'd be like, we need this momentum swing is big. We need both those dogs out there. It's very interchangeable lines that it's not a set in stone. All right, Mikko, you're not out there with the first guys anymore. It's a, hey, we need one. Nico, go play with Mac. Erod dropped to 2 or Lecky dropped to 2, and then we'll have those extra shift for first and second line guys later on. Like it's a very interchangeable line system. Yeah, they dropped the lines at the beginning of the game and dropped the who's going to be where, but by the end of the game, things are just getting mucked everywhere, and that's where Bednar is so great at just knowing his players and knowing what needs to happen when.
I think last thing before we're going to end this segment talking about the Avalanche with the sound from inside the arena from our seats when Taylor scored his game-winning goal from Game 2. But the last thing with the Avalanche, it's special teams because the power play has not found anything yet. We're 0 for the season against Seattle on the power play, which is insane to think about. But the penalty kill, outside of the one garbage time goal that they got the other night on their power play with McCann's tip, has been pretty goddamn good. Like about as good as you can hope for. They're damn near 100%. So special teams, they're not going to stay this way. What kind of a split between penalty kill, and power play would you like to see? Because obviously they got to start scoring some power play goals.
Look, in my opinion, yeah, the pucks aren't dropping in the back of the net, but the amount of shots you're getting from the power play is been a lot better. That third game and that second game, the power play was producing. I'd be hard pressed to say that that the puck won't drop in the net eventually. And look, you would like to see the puck go in the back net, but I have no problem with what the power play has done the last 2 games. First game obviously should have been a lot better, but the last 2 games, in my opinion, has been a lot better. And the PK obviously outside the one shorthanded goal in Game 2 has been very good as well. So I mean the power play has been very good as well. PK and power play both. So I think that you get the right guys out there will be helpful. I think Erod's veteran leadership, Confer's done a really good job clearing pucks too. I think, look, you have veteran leadership on the back end. That's the thing that helps you with penalty kills in the playoffs. And I'm not worried about the penalty kill at all. Obviously, you just want to see the puck go in the back net for the power play. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that they're not getting chances. They absolutely are getting chances. They're absolutely getting opportunities. They just need to put it in.
Yeah, I see the opportunity. I mean, they're getting there. Like I said, I think it's going to change. If you can get, maybe you give up 2 more power play goals, you'd like to see it stick around like 1.5 maybe, but just getting a little bit more, getting the shots there, because once you get shots on net, that's how you get goals. You can't score if you don't shoot. There's a lot of similarities that I talk about in wrestling with all these. So I'm going to get this correct now. So we're going to listen to the sounds from the stadium for goal 3, Tasers game winner off the rebound from the shot from MacDog in Game 2 to beat the Seattle Kraken and take their first game of the series. And now obviously they're up 2-1. We're going to get into predictions towards the end of the show. This is presented by Row One Brand. Row One Brand, get 15% off any item in the art gallery when you use code VSP15, VSP15, and you get 15% off anything in the art gallery. And now with their watch sale, they were actually doing a brand new watch sale, VSN 20. If you're buying one of their watches, you get 20% off. So 2 different promo codes, depends on what you're buying, but check out Row One Brand, rowonebrand.com, proud sponsor of the Variety Sports Network and this podcast. Here's the sounds from Ball Arena inside the can for goal number 3, Tasers game winner from Game 2. I think everybody gets the gist. Obviously, we had a good time. It's insane to be in there for playoff games. Shout out to Ball Arena. I know that he's a professional athlete and it probably didn't affect him that much, but that guy that was leading the Grubauer sucks chants from way behind us, the guy that you kept saying was losing his voice, he deserves a medal because that had to get unbearable towards the end of the game. When you just hear one guy with almost no voice left screaming out your last name and everybody else around him going, "You suck." That's got to leave a sour taste in the mouth of Grubauer. Probably a good reason why he's no longer here. But let's talk about
that is the understatement of the year.
Yeah, it's all what I'm full of understatements. Let's stay in the Western Conference first. Stars and Wild. Wild are up 2-1. I was listening to the game the other night. They were just kind of having their way with Dallas. Obviously, end up with a 5-1 win. The thing about Minnesota, and it's really showing against Dallas because, yeah, you got guys that are tough like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, but there's nobody that are – if anybody on the Wild does anything, nobody on Dallas is going to be able to step up and legitimately challenge Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves is the X factor that has kind of pushed this matchup. I mean, that's what we're seeing. Minnesota right now up 2-1 with their game 4 obviously coming up later tonight. So by the time people are listening to the recording of this tomorrow, it might be different. But Minnesota is just a tough, hard-nosed team, and it's messing with Dallas to no end at this point.
And what a terrible series from Onger start, right? Horrendous, right? This is the guy that everyone said, "Oh, this guy could steal you a series, could steal you games in the playoffs." Look at this: 3 goals, 7 or 5, 3 goals again, and then 5 the other night. There's going to be some problems. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be some problems. And Dallas, this is a must-win game 4 today as we're speaking. It's a must-win because you go down 3-1. Hockey is 3-1 leads are much tougher to come back than basketball. Funny enough, it can be very treacherous because you have to win. You have to win games on the road, and you have home ice, and you've lost it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough for Dallas to get back this because I think losing Pavelski, it didn't hurt them in game 2. I think they were it didn't hurt them in game 2 because he was able to they were able to ride the momentum and be like, "Oh shit, let's play for Joe." And now that you rode that momentum, and now you're here at game 2 and you're game 3, and you're like, "Oh, Joe isn't out there now, right? That leadership is gone. That backbone of the team is gone. How are we gonna respond?" And they responded poorly, very, very, very poorly. And you have to get this game 4 win if you're Dallas.
You need to split because right now it's basically been back and forth. If you continue to get the split, then you have a puncher's chance. Game 5, you have home ice advantage. So if nothing else, you can always try and fight it back and get back there. But it's been, small things. Obviously, in the double overtime game, Dallas should have had that thing sewn up before it even got to overtime. And Minnesota is able to fight them and steal that game. So far, if I were to just, speaking as a guy who's going to play one of these teams in the next round of the playoffs, Minnesota is going to be a much tougher matchup. Minnesota has a lot of the same vibes that St. Louis had last season, where they were going through that first round of the playoffs, and you're like, damn, they're just tough. Like, they're
tough. They're tough, but to argue with you, offensively, the Stars scare me a lot more. Like if I want to run a track meet and face a team that we can go win game 6-5, I think we can do that against Dallas. If you're gonna have to win a 2-1 game, 3-2 game, then it's gonna be Minnesota. I think that that may be helpful. That may play into our strength here. But that's going to be a lot more pressure on obviously Georgiev and Gus. I think his name's Gus. I keep forgetting what his name is. The Minnesota goalie that they put out there. But it's going to be a lot more pressure on them if it's a 3-2 ball game. Absolutely will. And I think that I don't know. I think that the toughness would be tougher. But I think that we can go up and down on some of these defensemen. It's just going to be tougher to put in the back of the net against Dallas. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
With what I've seen from Ottinger and how they've been able,
he's had struggled. Yeah,
and I don't see that unless he turns it around himself. And it's weird too. I was listening to the Stars broadcast since I have the Sirius app. I like to go around and I scout the different media markets and the different ways they talk about their team. They love Ottinger. Like, they find every single excuse they can to blame goals on anybody but him. So if he has the confidence of his fan base. He's not going to be hearing any bullshit or anything like that. If he can figure himself out, then yeah, they're going to be. That's the seed, the second seed. They obviously came down to the very last game to almost winning the division with the Colorado Avalanche. So it's not like they're not here for a reason. Ottinger played out of his mind last year, had a really good start to the series, not been great since. Minnesota just maybe I don't really fear them beating us even. If we play Minnesota, we're going to have to worry about who are we going to lose in this goddamn series. Who are they going to hit and the NHL is not going to call a penalty on? Who are we going to lose because Minnesota took a liberty with somebody? I think if we do play Minnesota, McDermott is going to see majority of his possibility of playing because they're just going to have to figure that out. I don't want that to happen. That's what I'm most fearful of playing Minnesota.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The physicality would be much different between the two. I think. Look, in my opinion, I think Dallas is more talented. Obviously, Kaprizov is a hell of a player, and I think they have some tough guys. And Dallas is a much more talented team. Hence, the reason why they're one of the division leaders for most of the year. I think obviously Minnesota would just be a tough one. That look. The Avalanche last year showed if you want to play tough guy with us, you're not going to fucking last. Edmonton tried to do it. St. Louis tried to do it. Tampa Bay tried to do it. Everyone tried to do it with us, and that team it didn't last. Teams where we struggled was when teams had offensive firepower going, and that's what happened the previous two playoffs as well. So that physical toughness, I don't think that bothers this team anymore. I think it's the mental mistakes on the back end that lead to good offensive chances for good high quality players.
Game 4 coming up tonight. Who do you think? Do you think Dallas gets the win and they split it again, or do you think Minnesota takes a 3-1 lead and comes that much closer to finishing out the series?
I think they even it up. I really do. I think they even it up.
I think I'm going to go with Dallas evening up the series as well. This is what we see a lot. I'm hoping this one goes 7 just to beat the shit out of each other a little bit more. And then Game 5 obviously coming up next Tuesday. If it is a clinching game or if it isn't, it will be taking place in Dallas, and Minnesota will have that possibility on TBS on Tuesday. Last series out of the Western. Oh, 2 more series. Excuse me. Now we're into the Pacific. The Pacific. Golden Knights take a 2-1 series lead. By the way, wild that all of the series are 2-1 currently. There is not another series record between anybody in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but Vegas has righted themselves. They've calmed themselves down. It took overtime the other night. Winnipeg is proving to be just as good as Seattle. If you underestimate them, they're going to give you a hell of a game. And outside of Game 2, where Vegas pretty much dominated, I'd say Winnipeg has shown they're just as good. This Western Conference playoffs is deep. It's not like there's only 2 teams that are going to be competing for a Stanley Cup championship. I think we could talk about these 2 teams. We've already talked about obviously the 4 that we've mentioned. Maybe not Seattle so much. LA and Edmonton also could be on this list of teams that can compete for the Western Conference Final and have that bid to represent the West in the Stanley Cup Finals against whoever makes it out of the East. But this has been a back and forth series so far.
No, both those series have absolutely been back and forth. I mean, look, Winnipeg comes back down for 3 goals to force overtime. Luckily, Vegas was able to sneak out an overtime goal to get that win there, but they would have been in big trouble if they would have gave up a 3-goal lead and went down 2-1 in Winnipeg, which is a very, very tough barn. Very, very tough barn. And this Edmonton and Kings series, I don't understand what the Oilers are doing. This could be a colossal failure if you lose in the first round again. Look, this is nearly the same exact team as last year, except you upgraded with a goaltender. You don't have 45-year-old Mike Smith in net anymore. You have Jack Campbell, who was a guy that was one of the top half goalies in the league last year. It'd be a colossal failure, and Edmonton not doing much of the deadline too could hurt them even more. Give it all kudos to the Kings as well, because they're playing great hockey right now. I have Follow playing well. Obviously, Kopitar company, like the Kempe especially, they're getting production from all across the board, and they're telling Edmonton, hey, everyone else beat us outside your top 2. Draisaitl, McDavid, you're not going to beat us. Everybody else beat us. It took until Game 3 for McDavid to get his first apple, and then he ripped off 2. I just think that if Edmonton really wants to get where they think they should be, they're going to need to turn this around quickly.
And I will say, I'll add on to that. Leon Draisaitl, if you're the second best player in the world, make it so that the Edmonton Oilers can win without McDavid scoring points. That's what you're there for. You're there to prove that you're the second and third best scorer in the world. Evander Kane, I'd challenge him the same way. If you're going to really be there for his backup, then back him up. Like, don't just sit out there and hope, oh, McJesus is going to make a play. Maybe not. Philip Deneau is one of the best defensive forwards in hockey. I said that he was going to make life difficult for Connor McDavid. He has done so far. The Kings lead that series 2-1. So let's get predictions for Game 4 of Vegas and Winnipeg. That's coming up on Monday. Who takes that one? First game up in Canada for that series, Nick. Who do you got?
I think Winnipeg gets one at home. I think that they even the series 2-2. I don't think Vegas steals 2 on the road.
All right. I tend to agree with you, especially since they pushed it to overtime. Winnipeg just has to get out to a faster start, and I think they have a good shot of evening up that series. Then LA and Edmonton, it's the last game in Edmonton, in Los Angeles for the time being. That takes place tonight, Game 4, Edmonton or the Kings. Who do you think?
This is a tough one. I'm gonna go Edmonton. I think that they look if they go down 3-1, it's gonna be some bad news.
It's a little chalk there. I'm feeling a little chalky.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Edmonton just because I think that they're gonna go down 3-1. It'd be all hell break loose.
Yeah, I am hoping for that hell to break loose. I think that LA is going to get the win, and they can finish this thing in 5. I think LA takes out Edmonton in 5, even though they were the hottest team at the end of the regular season. That's why regular season awards, regular season records don't matter. And we'll transition over now to the Eastern Conference because talk about a team that has to definitely forget what they did in the regular season. It's the Boston Bruins. Maybe they just fell asleep. Who knows? They are currently playing Boston and Florida in their Game 4 on Sunday afternoon as we're recording this. It's 0-0 at the moment, but Game 3.
Boston up 1-0.
Did it just score? Oh yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's 1-0. I got the game on my iPad. But yeah, Allmark had a very, very rough first 2 games. Obviously, they were able to squeeze by that first game, and it seems like these last two playoff games, obviously the start of Game 4, then the end, then all of Game 3, he calmed down. Absolutely. It seemed like the moment was too big for him for a guy who had absolute zero playoff experience. Getting some momentum for you going and getting possibly two road wins would be massive. Like I said, they're gonna have a war on their hands in the next round. They absolutely will, because we'll talk about the rest of these series. Because, like you said, you want to get out of these first round series as quickly and as soon as possible, because the Eastern Conference is not a place to sit around and fuck around with 7 games with teams that you should be beating much better.
I'm hoping that Matthew. This is the only time in my life I'm ever going to cheer for Matthew Tkachuk. I want him to harass Brad Marchand until he wants to quit hockey. That's my charge. I don't care if Florida wins another game. Just make Brad Marchand hate his life, and then I'll be just fine with that. Whatever happens in the rest of the playoffs, that's fine. But Matthew Tkachuk is a guy that can get underneath a ratty bastard like Brad Marchand, and that's not even. He takes that as a compliment. That's how he plays the game. That's how he's always played the game. And that's why he's one of the premier players. But Boston needs to make sure that they just don't fall asleep, because I honestly think that's what Game 2 was, where they lose 6-3, and they lose out in the scoring differential in both those last 2 periods of that game. But they've seemed to right themselves. It would be shocking for me. 6 maybe, but if it goes 7, I'm going to be absolutely shocked. I don't see
I think Boston wins this game that they're playing currently, and I think they finish at home. I think that they move off in 5. It was a good run by Florida, game 1 game, but
shouldn't have been there. So they have a lot to be happy with, I guess, on this season.
I would not necessarily say that after being the 1 seed last year and being the President's Trophy winners last year.
But it wasn't the same team. They totally didn't have the same team.
They quote unquote thought they upgraded though. Right?
Yeah,
they thought they upgraded. They're quote unquote. So
Huberdeau didn't do much in Calgary. I think it was just a lose on both ends. So Tampa and Toronto. Tampa, they'll be playing their Game 3, or they played Game 3 last night. Toronto won in overtime. A gutsy performance to push that thing into overtime, especially when you consider the fact
20
before they
seconds.
scored, they didn't have. I think they had like 7 shots in the entire period. Down by a goal, they had 7 shots in the entire third period. They make it so that they get into overtime. Ryan O'Reilly turns back into the 2019 Conn Smythe winner right in front of the net, gets the tip, gets it past Vasilevsky. I didn't get to see how they scored in overtime, but just the way that they were able to get that there.
It was a
We keep trying to
snipe from the left corner that Vasilevsky did not even see. Apparently, like it was a beautiful snipe in the top left. This Toronto, like Toronto answered very, very well, very, very well. Tampa Bay has a tough barn, absolutely a tough barn, and to get that game 3 win was huge.
And I feel like too, we keep trying to look for ways that this team isn't the way that they have been for the last however many years that they haven't been winning in the playoffs. And this is a game they hadn't beaten them back to back in this entire 2-year span that they played in the playoffs. They hadn't won back to back games, and they finally do that. They get the monkey off their back and prove to themselves that they can do this kind of thing and put multiple games in a row. So maybe that is the catalyst, but I think Ryan O'Reilly plays a bigger importance factor, especially at this. He didn't play well at the end of the regular season, but that's not what you pick up a guy like that for. He's like an Andrew Cogliano. Is he going to score 25, 30 goals? He's not, but he's a leader. When he scored that goal, that's what fired them up. He got them going through overtime, and I'm very impressed with what they were able to do. And I was about to come on here after, if we didn't have last night's game to talk about, or if they would have lost in the third period like they were looking about to on Saturday, we would have had a different conversation. But Toronto wins 7-2 and then 4-3 in overtime, and now setting up Monday night. Could take a possible 3-1 series lead, but that's going to be a tough task, especially because I think Hedman is moving towards possibly being ready to play.
He played game 3. He did play game 3. He suited up. He obviously did not seem like he was full 100%. The main story of this game though was the ghost goal, the goal that was sitting on, I believe it's not Swayman. What's his fucking name? Samsonov pads that Tampa Bay tipped in that the referee called dead before the puck went on the net. It seemed like the puck should have been good to go because the puck was just bouncing around, and the ref didn't see it and called it and took away a Tampa Bay goal that would have won them the game. It's a ghost goal that absolutely hurt them in the long run. It's crazy to think that the head officials over there in Toronto think the call in the playoffs for Toronto to win the game. It's funny. It's a little fishy if you don't mind me. Crazy to think about that. But Toronto. This seems like a different Toronto team than years past. That what they were missing was obviously that veteran leadership, and I really do think they have them. Like we said on Thursday's show, they get this monkey off their back. Who knows how far they can go? Because I think they're as good as anyone in the East.
There's a lot of teams that people are saying. I know you listen to Chicklets like I do. I think he said it about the Edmonton series, and then obviously Biz is a big Leafs fan. Whoever wins these really tough series, whoever gets tested, they look much better as things move on. Let's real quickly, since we talked about both those series, the other side of the East, Hurricanes and Islanders. Canes lead 2-1, but the Islanders able to bounce back and get 3-1. I did not realize that they already played.
Yeah, they played this morning 3-1, so it looks like...
Forget everything that I said. Good run, New York. Goodbye.
Islanders are going to have to win 2 on the road with 10,000 screaming Caniacs over there. So it's all shiro for the Islanders.
Second loudest barn in the NHL. I will give them that. They are crazy over in Canland. Don't have to talk about that one much now. Next game that we have to discuss, New Jersey bounces back and gets the overtime win, but it's still like it's almost like they're two different. It is, but it's almost like they're two different levels of team. Because the Rangers can just go out there and dominate whenever they want to. Yeah, they didn't look great and lost in overtime. But it's not like you've looked at this series and go, New Jersey's going to – this is how New Jersey can win. No, they're going to be lucky to win a game. You don't have a blueprint set out for how New Jersey's going to win the series.
They should be lucky to be able to win a game, but if New York wants to play with their food, or as Doc Rivers said, play with their meat, they're gonna lose games that they shouldn't. Plain and simple. Shesterkin letting in soft goals, and you're giving up good chances. Look, Devils started a 21, I think it's 20 or 21-year-old goalie who's like 6'7", first playoff game ever, and game 3, and he played out of his damn mind because Blackwood was absolutely horrendous those first 2 games. You get that momentum, you ride a little momentum. Look, you're in the series. You have some life now going into game 4. You absolutely do. You should not be in this series. New York is much more talented than you across the board. But if New York wants to be complacent, they want to make bad turnovers, take dumb penalties, get you power play goals, then you're going to run into a long series, and that's exactly what New York is going to have to run into here. They have to win. They don't have to, but look, you win game 4, you have 3 chances to beat the Devils, and I think that seals the deal. Plain and simple. You have to win game 4. You win the series. You lose game 4. All of a sudden, now you're like, oh shit, can we win at home? Oh shit, we have to win on the road twice now again. Oh boy, here we go. So it's like I said, New York has to win this game 4, in my opinion.
All right. So we made predictions on everything else. Before we transition away from hockey, let's talk about the Avalanche and what predictions we have. So game 4 will be played tomorrow night, and then game 5 will be on Wednesday. Here's how I'm going to phrase it so you don't have to necessarily throw out a jinx. Are we preparing for a game 6 when we have our podcast episode next week? So obviously we release on Thursdays. That means we would record on Wednesday after the game. Are we talking about possible game 6 for the Colorado Avalanche and Seattle Kraken, or are we talking about them moving forward into the next round?
I would say yes. I want us to win. Obviously, I'll be rooting for the boys to win, but like I said, I expect Seattle to get one. Another one at home. Like I think that they'll be ready. I think if they're not deflated, if the Avs win game 4, it's over in 5, and we're talking about the next series. We're moving on. This game 4 will decide if it goes 6 because I don't want it to go 7, but there's a possibility if you lose this game 4 that you go 7. Like I said, it'd be deflating, an absolute deflator if you don't have the guys that you have on your roster and you take both on the road. Plain and simple. Let's not forget one of the best road teams in hockey this year with the Colorado Avalanche. Weirdly enough, the Avalanche weren't very good at home, but they were great on the road. And Seattle was really good at home and not great on the road. So it plays into your factor of you just win another one on the road. Series should be over in 5, and then you can prepare for the next one and get ready because that war over there in the second round will be a tough test. It's important, in my opinion, to get this game 4 win, but it's not mandatory. You already did what you needed to do in getting home ice back in game 3.
I think they get the game 4 win and fairly easily because they have been so dominant on the road. That goes all the way back to last year's playoff run. So I think that they'll get game 4 win, but I think they have the possibility, especially with the lack of talent and the lack of depth on this team. I could see them blowing it in game 5, maybe not even blowing it, but just not being able to clinch the series and pushing it to 6. But then they love winning series on other teams' ice. I can tell you that much. They love doing that because they did that. We didn't get a single game clincher or series clincher game in Colorado last year. That's just how things rolled. That's your look at the NHL playoffs sponsored by Row One Brand. row1brand.com. Make sure you use code either VSN15 for anything off, 15% off anything in the art gallery, or VSN20 for 20% off their new line of watches over at the Row One Brand, row1brand.com. We are moving right along with this playoff bonus episode of the podcast. Now we just get to talk about some basketball. When we have our episode released on Thursday, that's obviously draft day. So since we're doing this episode, we will have a little bit of time to talk on Wednesday about some draft things and free agency, what we kind of predict. Maybe we'll even do a live mock draft or something like that. But we will have that discussion later on this week. In the NBA, right now there's already one team into the second round. That's the Philadelphia 76ers. They did confirm your theory. They swept the Brooklyn Nets. Elsewhere around the bracket, New York Knicks lead the Cavs 3-1. Phoenix leads the Clippers 3-1. The Denver Nuggets lead the Minnesota Timberwolves 3-0. And then it's a bunch of 2-win series outside of that. So first, let's go. Do you want to go Nuggets or do you want to go Sixers? Your love or your hate first?
We'll leave the Nuggets for last because there's some things I want to touch and preview for tonight's game as well. Because I think it could be the last time we talk about the series, in my opinion. It should be the last time we talk about this series, so we don't have to worry about that. But the Eastern Conference, look, Philly took care of business. They absolutely took care of business. It's what was needed. And the fact that Doc Rivers is already spieling the Embiid isn't 100% right now, makes me think that they're ready to lose to Boston. So
They're dead.
funny. He's always saying, "Oh, Embiid's worrying about back problems." Sounds like just an excuse waiting to happen. Plain and simple. So look, you faced a team that didn't have a guy over 6'8" that could guard you, and that's being generous. So I look. Congrats, you won game, get series one, you swapped them. It's exactly what you should have done. They shouldn't have got a game against you. They're a far less talented team. A team's only in the playoffs because of the first 45 games of the season, and when they had KD playing for them. So that's that for that series. This New York and Cleveland series is buzzing right now. I look, the Rangers are in the playoffs, yes, but that is a Knicks town. It will always be a Knicks town. When the Knicks are good, there isn't a more talked about team in that city. And right now, the Knicks taking a 3-1 lead, and they have a very good chance at the Eastern Conference Finals right now. You look at what's happening over in Miami with Giannis being injured too. The door's open. The door is open for an Eastern Conference Finals, right? The door is wide open. And look, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and company have been incredible. The addition of Josh Hart at the deadline, my God, what a fucking pickup, because he's been the backbone defensively and an offensive spark for this team. It'd be hard pressed to think that New York can't get past these guys in 5 or 6, or what else is going to happen with this team, because this team believes. This team believes. And you get to these conference finals, who knows what may happen.
Big battle.
Going forward after that, like I said, Giannis. Without Giannis, the Bucks aren't going to beat Miami. Plain and simple, they won't. They won't. If they think, like, being down 2-1, now playing Game 4 in Miami, 3-1 would be a death note for a Eric Spoelstra coach team. An absolute death note. And Giannis is a must play in Game 4. If he doesn't play in Game 4, you are saying the series is probably over. And it's an 8 seed upsetting a 1 seed. So that's the problem happening in Milwaukee. Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. I'm so confident that Milwaukee was going to win that series that I didn't realize Miami is up 2-1. Elsewhere for next round, it seems like we're going to have Boston versus Philly.
Boston should roll over Atlanta tonight. Atlanta had one game where they were like, we have a little momentum. Good for us. Like that's a big win to get the juices flowing. But Boston should win this in 5. It'll be a gentleman's sweep.
And then for the next round, that 2-3 matchup, Boston or Philadelphia, who do you think? I know how you feel about Philadelphia, and I know what you're thinking about this.
I will pick
Boston's to lose.
Boston, it'll be Boston's to lose, because Boston, in my opinion, is a much better team, and Philly cannot guard up defensively. Like they cannot defensively guard Tatum and Jaylen Brown and company. And defensively, you can throw Time Lord on Embiid. You can throw. I don't know about Horford, though. You can throw some of these other bigs for Boston on Embiid and divert to making Harden beat you, or Tobias Harris beat you, or Tyrese Maxey beat you. And I think that Boston's depth is much, much better.
I think, too, it'd be hilarious to have Embiid win the MVP and then also get eliminated in the second round, because that's all we've heard from Philadelphia fans. Is it MVP wins, but you don't make it past the second round? Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You're doing the same thing. And our MVP didn't have phantom back issues in the second round of the playoffs because he's afraid. He just has to make sure that his excuse is ready for when they lose. Sometimes basketball players just drive me up a fucking wall, Nico. I like you, but everyone else gets on my nerves every now and then.
It happens. It drives everyone up a wall. It absolutely does. And like I said, the East, in my opinion, all of a sudden with how New York has played against Cleveland, there's a possibility they could be a finals team. It's weird saying that, but like I said, it feels as though that the winner of the Boston-Philadelphia series will be in the finals, because Milwaukee is a ticking time bomb right now. Without Giannis, they're not making it past the second round if they get there.
Over on the other side of things, there is a game going on. I'm getting that score pulled up here now, because the Kings and Warriors are at halftime. The Kings leading 69-65. Obviously a step back the other night. We knew that Golden State was a different team at home. What were the adjustments that would have needed to be made, and were those adjustments made for this Kings team on how because you're going to have to win one in Golden State. You have home court advantage, but I feel like if you let them get too far out with their momentum, that's a bad thing for you. So how do they bounce back and secure the victory that they currently have right now sitting at halftime. I know Kings fans, if they're listening, are probably pissed at me. But
yeah, 69-65 right now at halftime. Look, Warriors, this is a must-win for them. You lose this game, the series is over. It's weird saying that about the Golden State Warriors. Plain and simple, but I think
they can't win on the road. Yeah,
they cannot win on the road to save their life. Their life depending on it, gun to their head. Yeah, they're not winning the series if they lose Game 4. So this is a must-win game. If you lose this game, then you're in trouble. Maybe you might be able to squeeze one win in a row, but trying to win 2 in a row, or 3 in a row against Sacramento with 2 home games in Sacktown with the beam would be a nightmare. And they'd be done. And the defending champs would lose to a team that hadn't been to the playoffs in 17 years. Plain and simple. So, and look, the Game 3, obviously, they didn't have Draymond. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're better better without Draymond. But you had other guys step up. You had Moses Moody step up. You had Jonathan Kuminga step up. You had young guys ready to flourish in the role. Instead, Draymond's making it by himself this Game 4. He's hyping up, jumping around, doing everything coming off the bench. And in my opinion, there's too many distractions for this Warriors team. Play ball. You're a much better team. I wouldn't say much better team. I take that back. But you are basically running back the same roster as you had last year to what got you to the NBA Finals and won. That no one touched you, right? That you swept 2 out of the 4 series getting to the finals. Same exact team nearly. And here you are just running on 2 legs. And Sacramento is the worst matchup possible, just running you up and down the court constantly, and defensive pressure just being an absolute havoc defensively. So, like I said, I think the Sacramento can win tonight or today. I really do think they can, and them getting that opportunity to go up 3-1 with a series clincher, Game 5. It's going to be over in 5. Plain and simple. It won't go back to Golden State because that Beam team that city will be losing its damn mind, and Golden State will be a first round exit.
Let's go to the Lakers. So obviously the LeBron killer, that guy should have just kept his mouth shut. Did LeBron put 40 on him? Can he respect him now, or did he not get 40 the other night?
He did not get 40, but he didn't have the chance to because Dylan Brooks decided to punch him in the nuts and have a flagrant 2 foul. Yes, that is real.
Why is everybody punching everybody in the nuts now?
I don't know. Sometimes it's a kick, but he legit what fist to balls and LeBron and Falcon punch. And Dylan Brooks is hurting his team. This Memphis Grizzlies teams are the frauds that I've been talking about all season. Let us not forget. I've been trying to tell everyone this Memphis team doesn't scare me. It really doesn't. There's 3 teams in the Western Conference that scare me right now. It's the Clippers, Suns, and the Golden State Warriors. And look, I think we can get past the Sacramento Kings. I think great for them. But Golden State gets hot at the right time. It's tough to beat them. Plain and simple. That's the only teams that scare me. Memphis does not scare me. That team does not have leadership, does not have bigs inside to guard anybody. And plain and simple, Anthony Davis and LeBron James healthy could beat this team. They absolutely can. And I really like I said, look, John Moran had 22 straight points in the 4th quarter, and they still lost by fucking 15. That's that. If you're Memphis, you're like, shit. How do we improve on this? Like this is some of the best shots we're given. The Lakers are just handling us, plain and simple. So you want to talk? You want to play around, play funny games. You win funny prizes, plain and simple. So the Lakers got their wish. They get to play Memphis in the first round, and they get to have a chance to go up 3-1 on a series. But LeBron is very, very hard to beat 2 times in a row, let alone 3 times in a row. Doesn't matter what team is on.
It just seems like.
It's a must-win for Game 4.
That game tomorrow is going to be something where, you just should have kept your mouth shut. Kept worrying about playing basketball. Once you beat them, then maybe you can talk as much as you want. But.
And plain and simple, the Lakers fans want Dylan Brooks to play. They don't want him suspended because he's fucking sucked. The dude's shooting at a fucking, I think, 6% clip right now from three this series. Yeah, they want him to play because of how poorly he has been defensively. He wants to talk that shit. Go ahead. Please play. Please try to guard LeBron. Please try to guard Rui Hachimura. Fucking Rui Hachimura dropping 20, 15, and 10 or 20, 15, 20 points, 15 points, another 15 points on your head in 3 games. It's funny. It really is funny. You want to talk shit? You better be able to back it up. And this Memphis Grizzlies team, it's not newsflash. It's not a parade inside your city.
Sorry. No, I think we're good on that now. I know your prediction for the Nuggets game because that's where we're moving next. So I won't necessarily ask you for that. But this Clippers Sun series, obviously Phoenix is now up 3-1. It's going to take a lot of effort. And I don't know, is Kawhi playing again for the Clippers or is he
Kawhi is
still out?
out game 4. And look, this is the Russell Westbrook show. Russell Westbrook dropped
Oh shit.
37 game 3. He dropped I know I think it was 35 in game 2. Clippers are in trouble. In my opinion, I think the Clippers are, like I said on Thursday show, Clippers are a deeper team. Kawhi scares me more than Kevin Durant. Yeah, I said it, but the dude can't stay healthy. Plain simple, he doesn't. Like I said, one of the biggest what ifs right now in basketball is what if Kawhi would have never got injured at any point? Because Kawhi fully healthy might be a top 5 greatest player of all time, top 10. Because the way how good he is defensively, how good he is offensively, and how much he wills teams to NBA championships. Plain simple. So, look, Clippers are in trouble. Clippers are in trouble. You go down 3-1. I mean, you do have Chris Paul over there, who's lost a couple 3-1 series. You have Kevin Durant, who's also lost a couple 3-1 series leads. So by any means, the series isn't over. But it would not look good. It would not look good, and we may be talking. I think there's a very good chance on Thursday's show we talk about this Suns Nuggets second round matchup is it will be the main topic because that it's going to be fun. Is all I'm going to say because I cannot wait to shut up all the Phoenix fans that said, "Oh, we beat you fair and square," when they literally they've gotten to win series where they haven't had to face Kawhi or Paul George. They didn't have to face Anthony Davis with the Lakers. They didn't have to face Jamal Murray. They didn't have to face everybody. They've had the best injury luck I have ever seen in the playoffs. And look, injury luck plays into the playoffs. It absolutely does. But this 3-year span of fucking injury luck will fucking come to an end when they play the Denver Nuggets in the second round. Plain and simple, okay? So I would relish the opportunity to play them.
Here's my charge for you. If it is the Phoenix series, I want you to find, because I know that you have friends from your college days out in Arizona. Get us somebody that you know would be a good guest that's a Suns fan that we can break down that series for.
Jonah's wife, because Jonah's wife.
I just didn't want to say go get.
I've been talking shit, and there's a good chance that I may go out there for a game. So I will be at game 1 and 2. There's zero doubt about that. I have nothing getting in the way of that. But there may be a chance for game 3 and 4 where Nugs in 4 would be very, very funny. Very, very funny to happen.
But I want a Phoenix person on, just like we did last year with the NBA Finals. We should start finding at least one person or maybe one other show that has vested interest in the other side, because I think that's a good thing. So if it's Nuggets Suns, let's make sure that we have somebody from the Suns perspective. I think I have a buddy too that if Jonah's wife isn't available, we can ask my old punter.
I do have a lot of Suns fans friends. I'm telling you right now, I would relish the opportunity to win that series. I very much would. And look, they should, after being up 3-1, they should finish this in 5. Like, it should be over.
Games.
They're not up 3-1 currently, but I would be if they lose game 4 without Kawhi and without Paul George and Russell Westbrook goes out there and beat you game 4, you have bigger fish to fry, buddy. Yeah. So knock yourself out. Go fuck around and play a 7-game series with the Clippers.
Now that we've talked about all the games, what else did you have on the NBA playoffs that you wanted to touch on? Because I think we're close to wrapping this thing up. So
let's talk about this game 4 and the Denver Nuggets, because we haven't touched on that at all.
Let's break down game 4 and give our predictions. That's right.
This series should be done in 4. I hate to be a dick, and I may be sounding like an asshole, but these bums don't deserve to breathe the same air as us. Rudy Gobert. Like I said, you trade for a guy, stop one guy, and you can't stop him. Plain and simple. This Timberwolves team this Timberwolves fan base, this Timberwolves team think that they're so entitled to everything. Karl-Anthony Towns is the worst number 2 guy on an NBA playoff team this year. I'm serious. I'm serious. He has been a absolute snooze fest, and there's a very good chance he gets traded this offseason because this playoff performance in this 3 games so far, will be 4 after tonight. One thing you realize is the team needs to be built around Anthony Edwards. Plain and simple. You should go out and try to trade Karl-Anthony Towns to possibly Portland or possibly one of these teams that think that they can upgrade with around their young stars still. And just go off of Gobert and go off Anthony Edwards, because Gobert, as much as shit as I give him, he's a great defensive presence inside, and Anthony Edwards has shown he's the star. He's a star. He's a star in the making, plain and simple. Dropping back-to-back 35-plus point games, it's going to be tough to beat them in 4, but I think that they should beat them in 4, plain and simple. Because the Denver Nuggets right now aren't getting production from Jokic offensively. They aren't necessarily getting points off offensively from game 3 and 1 from Jamal Murray offensively. You're getting production from that third X factor that I talked about all season long. It was the Michael Porter Jr. X factor. It's that third guy to step up, be like, oh shit, Jamal's not having a night. Jokic's not having a night. Oh fuck, we can go to Michael Porter Jr., who fits in perfectly to his role. This series should be done at 4, plain and simple. That's how confident I am. And it's not done at 4. It's a gentleman's sweep. Congrats, we gave you 1 game, and it's over in 5. Plain and simple. Minnesota is not. It's not. They aren't mentally there with the Denver Nuggets. They are what the Denver Nuggets were in 2019, I want to say. 2018, whatever it was.
With those years that Dame always took us to like Game 7 in the first round?
Exactly. Game 7, you go to Game 7 with San Antonio in 2019 as well. Like it's those series that you're like, yeah, this team ain't ready. It's got good players, got a good foundation. The team's not ready. Minnesota, you're not mentally ready. You're not physically there ready, and there's going to be some adjustments that needs to be made because that team is not built to win these playoffs, plain and simple. And Karl-Anthony Towns may be the epicenter of that. You traded all this capital for Rudy Gobert. You really did. You traded all this capital for Rudy Gobert, so you're not going to trade him. So the likely guy will be number 32 because what he's performed in this playoff so far, greatest big man shooter of all time, my ass. Get him out here. He touches nothing, Dirk. So Minnesota, you had fun. And look, it was funny. It was funny. They were arguing about foul calls game 3, Jimmy. I don't know if you saw the free throw count, but it was 37-13. and we won by 12. That was the free throw discrepancy. That's a free throw discrepancy a few years back that the Nuggets wouldn't have been able to overcome. This team is such well balanced, such team first mentality that it doesn't bother them at all. That Jokic doesn't shoot a free throw at all in 2 straight games. In game 3, probably won't, and only shot 2 free throws, I believe, in game 2. It's something that as many times Jokic gets to the bucket, he doesn't shoot free throws. And here you are complaining about getting 37 free throws, and the refs are on your bad side because that's the problem. Because don't look at your own guys. Don't look at Gobert averaging 5 fouls a game this series, fouling out once, almost fouling out twice. And don't look at Karl-Anthony Towns, who are averaging 9 to 10 points a game these 3 games. Don't look at that. Blame the refs for your debacle. Blame all that. So, Denver Nuggets, finish these bums off in 4. Move on, right? The more rest you can getting into the Phoenix or Clippers series, more than likely Phoenix series, the better off you will be. Because like I said, rest is massive in the playoffs. Look what the Avs say, right? You swept 2 series in the playoffs. That only playing, what was it, 18 games or 20 games total was massive. 20 games total was massive. It's absolutely massive for the length of longevity where you want to get to. So get these bums off the court, run through their asses tonight. Pause on that. Run through them tonight and look forward to the future. Because like I said, Minnesota's Timberwolves' goal this offseason or this season was to beat the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets' goal this season to win the NBA championship. Move on. Get rid of these bums.
It's time to get out of it. We have championship banners up in our rafters for a reason. I know that Nuggets don't have them, but it's seeming like this is the time. So I'm excited for it. I think the Nuggets take care of business tonight. We're talking about their second round matchup when we come back for our show.
And look, it's
next
not
Thursday.
Panic time. If it's not panic time if they lose. I still think it's panic time if they lose in game 5. They lose back to back, then we start panicking. But I think you just got to win either 4 or 5. I'd be happy in 4. I'd be ecstatic in 4. I'd be happy in 5.
I agree with you. One more time, real quick shout out for our sponsors of today's episode, Row One Brand, rowanbrand.com. Use code VSP15, 15% off everything in the art gallery. Or if you're buying one of the watches, use code VSN20. You get 20% off any watch. We also had our merch store. So we had release shirts for both the Nuggets and the Avalanche playoff runs. It only takes 16 for the Nuggets. Joke is on you for the Nuggets. It only takes 16 for the Avalanche. Be sure to check that out. Bonfire.com/variety-sports-network and get some new merch. Mine are coming in soon. You'll see me rocking them on the podcast. Make sure that we get those. It helps out the Variety Sports Network and it helps us out as a podcast as well. I will be on tomorrow night for the NHL recap show. I'm sure Nico, you and Darren are getting some NBA recaps scheduled and lined up. Anything else you want to say before we send everyone off from this bonus episode? And we'll be back on our normal Thursday this upcoming week.
Knocking on wood, right now things are going well so far. Like I said, things are going well. So keep up the momentum for both teams, and let's get both teams in the second round.
I'm looking forward to it. Both teams get into the second round. Make sure you follow us at FEOTB Pod, all of our social media. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure that you continue to follow along throughout the playoffs. We'll be doing a multiple episode weeks as we continue on until it doesn't make sense to do so. We'll have NFL draft coverage coming up for you on Thursday. Make sure you follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating. Help us out. Help the Variety Sports Network out as well. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Nico Bryant, this is your bonus playoff edition. We will see you guys next Thursday.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.